Welcome back to LearnPianoLive.com. My name is Jamin, and as you can tell from the countdown clock, the lesson is about to get started. In case you're new with this, there's a few things I'd like to show you to help you throughout the lesson. So this lesson is about reharmonization. That means we're going to take an existing song and we're going to find new chords to play over the same melody. Now, that means that you're probably going to need to already know about chords and keys and probably intervals, and probably have already several songs that you can play well enough that they actually sound like the song. But even if you can't do that, you might pick up some interesting theory bits along the way. So feel free to join us. The goal, though, is not this song. It's not about the song that we're working on. It's really about taking the concepts you like, the reharmonizations, the substitutions that you like from this lesson, and then applying them to other songs that you already know how to play. These lessons are always guided and shaped by your questions, and if you're live with us today, there's a couple different ways you can do that. One, public live chat, and the other is the Ask Jamin a Question button, where you can ask me a question privately, and I won't share your identity in case you're afraid that your question is stupid. But it's not. If you're in the archives, though, then just open up the survey. At the end of that, there's a place where you can ask your question. I will say I frequently get questions from students in the archives watching a lesson from 6 months ago, and I have no idea what they're talking about. So please try to be as specific as possible. If you're watching this at LearnPianoLive.com, there should be a PDF and an MP3 button right next to this video. The PDF will often have additional video links inside, so you can get more in-depth instruction on each of the topics. And if you're the kind of person who likes to print out the PDF so you can make the same notes on your physical version as I'm making during the lesson, now would be the time to do that. The MP3 is just a play-along track so you can practice more after the lesson. In traditional lessons, a teacher is going to actually present some new concept for maybe 5 or 10 minutes every couple weeks. The rest of the time is going to be spent applying and refining those concepts. Well, here I'm spouting off hours of new information every week, so it's totally unreasonable to expect you to actually absorb all of that. Instead, the goal of these live lessons is for you to find some little nugget of something that makes sense, but is a bit of a challenge, and for you to go practice it, because practice is where all the improvement's going to happen. So don't feel bad if you have to leave the live lesson when you find that little thing that you're going to practice. And of course, if I'm going too fast, you can always rewind the live lessons or replay in the archives as much as you want. If these live lessons start feeling random or meandering, it's because they are, on purpose. So if you're the kind of person who wants classical training with a step-by-step method, then you're going to want to check out Kloppel Academy on the website. It's included in your live lesson subscription, so you can do both or either. And the upper levels are seriously hard work, but it's going to take you all the way from ground zero all the way up to being ready to enter any major music college as a piano major in classical or jazz. And thankfully, I think that's about all we need to cover before the lesson. So if you'd stick around afterwards and fill out the survey, I would love your feedback. But for now, let's have some fun and make some music. Welcome back to LearnPianoLive.com. My name is Jamin, and today we're going to be doing the coffee idiom. So this is just the mini lesson out of the full course that takes you through all the keys and all the different rhythmic variations and stuff of this lick. But essentially, this is extremely related to the pivot, which is extremely related to honeysuckle, and also kind of like the roll a little bit too. So let's just talk about what a C major 7 chord is, because that's kind of where we're going to start this thing. The idea is that you are trying to come up with some improvisation, something that sounds kind of jazzy-ish. So this requires knowledge of chords. Yep, knowledge of chords. So hopefully you're already playing songs that you either are playing the chords or you know what the chords are supposed to be. That's kind of like the baseline for this thing. So even though this is like the beginner version of this, it's not really a beginner lesson because it requires the knowledge there of chords. But we're gonna start with the C major 7 here, which is just a C, an E, and a G, and a B. And this would also work on pretty much any time you just see like a C chord. However, I want to add in that all these jazz idioms are going to sound jazz-y. So then if you try to use this like on a country song or something like that, it'll work. Like the notes won't be wrong, but it'll sound really out of place and odd because it's definitely a jazz feel to it. So this is going to be a C, an E, and a G, and a B. Now, you could be playing that perhaps in your left hand, or maybe the band is just playing that behind you. And I, again, recommend that you go to YouTube and pick up backing tracks for songs. You can just like search up backing track in C, and it should tell you what the chords are going to look like. Let me show you a couple of examples of this. This is Blue Bossa backing track, and so you can see on this one here, like it's telling you what all the chords are as you play through it. So it'll count it off at the beginning, and this is going to tell you you're playing C minor 7, and then an F minor. So it kind of goes through those and plays the chords for you and tells you what chords you're supposed to be playing. Some of the backing tracks don't have that. It's just like a picture of a guitar or something like that, which isn't nearly as helpful. If you use the app iReal or iReal Pro, then that also gives you the chords as you go, and it has basically the backing track for every imaginable jazz song out there. So that's kind of what you would use to play along with this, as well as, of course, the play along track that I gave you, which is just this thing in all 12 keys looped around. But we haven't actually played the lick yet. So the lick goes like this. That's it. It's just a tiny little phrase that you would insert in your other improvisation. So that thing right there. So it's going to start on a note that's not even in the chord that we're playing. So this is C major 7. So and if you are an absolute beginner here, I guess the way that you could use this is if you are if you're improvising and you come up to a C chord, or you're playing in the key of C. So if you know what that means, then you could use this thing. That thing right there. It's going to start on this note right here, which if we extended this little pattern here of like root, skip a note, skip a note, skip a note, skip a note, then we would land on this thing. So we would call this the 9 of the chord, or it obviously looks like the 2 of the chord, because if this is C chord, then that's the 1 and that's the 2. But if we're counting from down here, we'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So in jazz, this is sometimes called the 9, even though it's the 2. So that's what we're going to start on, and that's what this thing is referring to up here. You're going to see these throughout all of our idiom courses. So for a major 7 chord, you would start the coffee idiom on the 9, which is also known as the 2. Okay, cool. So then we've got that. We're going to start there. We're going to play a note that is a half step lower than the 2 or the 9. That's the note in between the 2 and the 1, and we'd land on the 1. So that's the beginning of it. So right there, we're starting right on beat 1. And then we're going to jump all the way down to this note right here, which is in the C chord. It's the 3 of the chord. So you'd play that one and then the 5. So we'd play 2, flat 2, or sharp 1, 1, 3, 5. That's it. That's the whole entire idiom. And then the difficulty is trying that in every possible place you could fit it in. So every major chord that you would have. So if you go to your tracks here, let's go to this one right here. So we've got a couple different places we could use on this one. This is just C to A minor to F to G. So that's what this backing track is. It's going to play a C and then an A minor. Not super jazzy, but that's all right. We'll go ahead and try it anyway. So it's A minor, then F, and then G. So we're in the key of C. So you could kind of use this anywhere you wanted to, if you're just, noodling around in the key of C. Like kind of what you do for the improv stuff in Clapple Academy level 1 and 2. All that stuff, and then that kind of works. So it kind of works anywhere in the key of C, but especially works well on C chords. But of course, you could just translate this to any other chord. So if we want to try that on the F, for example, then we could just take, we know this is the F chord right here. This is the F major 7. Just checking the chat room too. Cool, it looks like we're on track. So we'd play the 9 of the F chord. So we're on an F chord. Now we play the 9 to the flat 9 to the 1 to the 3 to the 5. And that would be what we would do for the F chord. So when it gets time for the F chord, we'd play, or That thing right there. And we can vary the rhythms and stuff. And in the full course, we talk about all the different rhythmic possibilities and stuff. But that's the lick, the official rhythm from the original song. You're the cream in my coffee. That's where the word coffee comes from. That's this idiom is stolen from that song. Okay, so that's what we can do on the F. So we've got the C, the A minor, which we're not doing anything for, just noodle around. And then when it's time for the F, and if we just did that, those things right there, it sounds something like this. So already, like, not even messing very much with the A minor or the G or anything. Doing that on a C and doing this on an F. If you do it a lot, it'll sound like you're doing it a lot and it'll sound like it's too much. But that's exactly the point of this lesson, is to try this way too much. So this is just like any new piece of vocabulary. The only way you're going to be able to really incorporate it into your vocabulary is to take that word and just overuse it and decide that for the next 48 hours, I'm going to insert this word everywhere possible, even some places where it's not possible and where it doesn't work out. So I can really experiment and see what it feels like, see what the reactions are to the people I'm using it with, see just what it feels like as a piece of vocabulary incorporated into my vocabulary. So you would do the same thing with this. Just practice it in every possible position, on the C's, on the F's, on the B flats, E flats, every single possible chord that you could play it on. And then we'd want to try playing that on a minor chord. So if you're going to play this on a minor 7 chord, you would start from the 11, which is also known as the 4. So it's the same exact lick, but now instead of starting on the 9, like we did for the major 7 chord, if we're playing a C minor 7, for example, C, E flat, G, and B flat, then we wouldn't start on the 9, we would start on the next note up, which would be the 11 or the 4 of the chord. That's the same note, that note right there. So you'd play the same thing, you'd go down a half step, jump down what's called a minor 6th, or what is that, 8 half steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 half steps, and then come up 3 half steps. So it's the same exact move, but it's just starting in a different place. So that thing right there is what you do for a minor chord. So you might recall we had this thing over here and we're like A minor. We don't know what in the world we would do for an A minor. Now we do know what we could do for an A minor, because on the A minor we could start on the 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is also the 11, and play that thing right there. We're going to jump down minor 6th and come up 3 half steps. So now we have something to do on the C, starting on the 9, and then starting on the A minor, starting on the 4, down a half step, down a half step, down a minor 6th, come up 3 half steps. That's the 11 to the, we'll call it, what do we call that? The major 3 to the lowered 3 to the 5 to the 7 on the A minor chord. And then the F. And then the other thing we don't have anything to do on this one is the G7 chord that shows up here, because it's a dominant chord, so we don't have anything for that one. So we'd have, and then the A minor, and you might notice these are the same exact notes for these two chords. So the coffee over a C major 7 is the same as the coffee for an A minor. Same exact thing. And then the F, by the way, that's going to show up in pretty much every single idiom that we do, is like that same exact set of notes works on multiple chords. So this, like, you don't necessarily know what chord that is until you get the context of it, because that could be over actually 3 different chords. It could be over a C major 7, it could be over an A minor 7, it could also be over a D7. We'll get to that in just a second. And then we'd have the G chord. So along with the backing track, and again, this is just like a random backing track. This isn't like anything that's specially built for this lick. So the idea is you would take this thing, go out into the real world, and just like try to insert it everywhere possible. So again. And then. G7. So I wish we had something we could do on dominant chords, and now we do. So on the dominant, we would do the same exact idiom, but we would start on the 1. So on a C7, if we had a C7 chord, we'd start on the 1 of the chord, and then we would go down a half step, down a half step, down a minor 6th, just like we did before, and come up 3 half steps. That would be the 1 to the major 7, to the dominant 7, to the 9, to the 11. And then you'd probably go somewhere from there, from the 11. You wouldn't necessarily land there and just stop. But anyway, that's kind of the idea. It's just this little like starting place or this little ending place for the other phrases that you're playing. So now we have something to do on 7 chords or on dominant chords. So when we had that G7, then we're like, all right, let's try the coffee on this G7. We'd start on the 1, we'd come down a half step, we come down a half step, we jump down a minor 6 or 8 half steps, or we jump down to the 9 and then come to 11. So that's that one. So we'd have the C, and then we'd have the A minor, which is the same exact thing. And then we'd play the F major 7, and then we'd play the G, and those two end up being the same exact thing too. So you're just playing the lick in the same spot twice in a row for this particular backing track right here, just the way the chords are set up. By chance, it happens to be that we're playing the same thing twice in a row. So, along with the track, it would sound something like this. And as soon as that's boring and we're not messing that up at all, then it's probably time to move on to a different backing track. So then we can move on to, whatever song that you're working on that you want to try soloing over, or even if you don't want to try soloing over, if you're not interested in soloing over whatever song it is you're working on, just using it as an exercise will be helpful in a lot of ways. Whatever you're doing on that song aside from this, this will improve that, as well as it's a song that you're already familiar with the chords for, so it will be a lot easier to process these things. So this is like the All of Me backing track, because I know a lot of you guys are working on that, especially for Clopple Academy level 3, I think, is when we talk about All of Me. So there's a C chord, going to an E dominant chord, going to an A dominant chord, going to a D minor chord. So there's all kinds of places to use this. So we would go just chord by chord and go, okay, C, what could we do with the C? Okay, so that's that one. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna try that. And then probably don't do the coffee on all of the chords the first time through. You just want to nail down one of them and then do something else. So we would do something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, cool. I did it. Cool. All right. So then. So whatever else it is that you're doing, you just kind of noodle around and do that, and just focus on, okay, when I get to this chord right here, I want to do this thing right here. And then eventually, okay, so I got that down. I nailed the C, now I want to do the E7. So for a 7 chord, we would start on the, I don't remember, what is it? Okay, for the major 7, we start on the 9. For the minor 7, we start on the 11 or the 4. And then for the dominant, we start on the 1. So E dominant, we're going to start on the 1. And then go down 8 half steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or to the 9. So that thing right there is what I'm gonna do for the E. So I start, and then we'd go up to the E. Okay, cool. So then we could incorporate that one, play through the rest of the tune, and not worry about inserting coffee anywhere else. So you're just doing this systematically on purpose, and it sounds terrible. Congratulations, this is an exercise. This is not actual soloing. But again, the idea, just like with the piece of vocabulary that you're trying to insert into your own vocabulary, the idea here is that you use it so much and in so many inappropriate places that eventually when you're not trying to do that and you're just doing your improvisation stuff and you're just making up whatever melodies, that stuff is sitting there in your subconscious. And so as you're playing, it'll just pop up and you'll play it and you go, oh, hey, I think that was that coffee thing that I way overdid and was so sick of. that I did on every single possible chord and every single possible key. So that's kind of the goal of what we're doing here with the coffee thing. Again, if that's interesting to you and you're like, yeah, I'd like to go through all the keys systematically, then you're going to want to check out the coffee course, where we just really overdo this thing, and we go through the circle of fifths, we do 2-5-1s, and all that stuff, talk about the rhythmic variations. And if that seemed incredibly boring, then don't do any of the rest of the jazz idioms, because they're all kind of the same concept. You take some little really important piece of jazz vocabulary and you just really overdo it until it sinks into your subconscious and leaks into your playing, and you sound like a jazz player and you don't have to think about it all consciously. It's just there in the back of your mind. So let me know what it is that you're working on. I'd love to see you playing this in any of the tunes that you're working on. Or if you got questions about it, of course, hit me up in, anywhere. You've got my personal cell phone number and my email and the contact form. So get a hold of me. Can't wait to see what you come up with. Until next time, explore, mess up, have fun, and rock on.